Hello, everyone. This is Z, and today I have another special guest with me, Mr. Marco Minnemann. Needs no introduction. And here we are. Marco, how are you doing?
Hi, good to be here, and thanks for having me on the program. I'm doing great. We just finished actually a large Aristocrats tour, so now I have a few months off. Well, I'm writing obviously, and I love that. But yeah, you caught me at a good time.
Yeah, so you just finished. Unfortunately, I miss you guys in Chicago. I was maybe on vacation that time, but
Ah,
I'm usually every aristocrat show I'm there. So
oh
it's
wow, thank you, thank
and
you.
it's
The
one
Chicago
of
show was good.
very good experiences. It's like
Thank you.
open jam sessions as well going on, and a lot of music. Already, you guys write great music with this band, and put a great show as well. So
We tried.
I'll definitely again. So next you guys are going to Australia, I believe.
Yeah, we're going to Australia. I think that's going to be in February, and then actually, basically, all over Asia, basically. So Southeast Asia, Australia, and then also, we go to Japan. We go to other places as well. We go to India again,
Okay.
and then we go to the cruise to the edge, which is going to be fun with us. I
Yeah.
think for the yeah, exactly, for the Aristocrats the first time. I've been there many times with other bands, but
Yeah.
for the Aristocrats that's the first time. So that's very cool. And then we do another tour through the United States, and then we probably kind of later on hit Latin America and Europe.
Okay, so it's a busy schedule ahead.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of announcements coming.
Okay, awesome. So what you are up to these days? Are you writing solo record or what's going on?
Always, I can't help it, right? I can't do anything else in life, isn't it? So I have to make. I want to make music also, So I always have ideas. So I always keep writing stuff, and meanwhile, these days with especially with social media and how the music industry works, I'm not really afraid anymore of just releasing stuff as it comes along, and then
Yeah.
people can buy it on Bandcamp, and then later on I'll fine tune it and make my new album, and maybe have like some additional ingredients for the songs. I think it's a very exciting process, or
Yeah.
progress. And so that's what I'm doing also right now, and writing a lot of songs for my next album. A few already released on Bandcamp, and then I will kind of revisit some of them later on, and then put it into an album. So
Okay.
that's how that rolls. Those are the times, the modern times these days, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, it's all about content these days. I mean, which is
Yeah.
sad also, or I mean, good as well. Like you have to, musicians are becoming content creator kind of.
In a way it is. It's a good and a bad thing at the same time, obviously, because you know the times where people just were waiting for an album to be released. You remember that?
Yeah.
Now if you do that and you go like, okay, our album is going to be released in December 2025 or 2024 or whatnot, yeah, then some people listen to it and then move on. Next thing, isn't it? It seems like nobody's really waiting for them for music anymore that much, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
not quite. I mean, I am still one of those geeks, who is waiting for the newest release of David Gilmour or something. I'm still this kind of guy. And we with the Aristocrats have a fan base like that as well, I have to say, and,
Yeah.
and me as well. But I'm not shy of creating content when I have something to say. But musically, so if I write a new song, why not post it and put it on Bandcamp, and then I'll kind of explain people what it is, and then they can buy it, and that finances my next project as well. And then I
Yeah.
come out with maybe with a beautiful vinyl release of that one, and you can buy it at the merch table. And I think that's a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah,
And
that's like being creative and thinking
yeah,
like how you can use music as a
yeah,
progress as well. And
yeah,
a lot of times the ideas are fresh and it's good to invest in it. Of course, you know much better than me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
one
yeah.
of the guys who are like, you played one of my songs. It was like 10-minute long song, if you
Yeah, I remember.
remember.
It was cool. It was cool, man. I hope
but
you're
I,
happy.
but I haven't released it yet. So I'm
Ah,
like, oh, too afraid. Okay, when should I? And finally, I got an idea of lyrically, like a pretty good idea, which is like fits very well with the theme. And
ah.
that song will be coming out today. I mean, not today. This year, hopefully.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking forward to it. You happy
yeah.
with the performance?
Yeah, it was really great. I mean, I can't say enough. I mean, and one of the stories I want to share with the audience is.
Yeah.
I send you an email, hey Marco, can you play a song? And it's a 10-minute long song. And
Oh
you
yeah.
came up with 2 hours later email with the drum parts of it. I'm like,
Oh wow.
what? Dude, this is amazing. I mean, that
Thank
song
you.
is like it's a complex song. It's not
Yeah.
very easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of ups and downs in it. And you came up
Yeah.
with like in 2 hours, you sent me an email. Okay, this is done.
Yeah.
And it was pretty close to 90% there. And I just said,
Yeah.
okay, some parts you
Yeah.
probably
We fine
didn't
tuned
know,
something. I
fine
remember. Yeah.
tune.
But
So,
that's how I kind of can work here because I have downstairs. I have two drum sets always mic'd up and ready.
uh,
So I can kind of immediately also read from from whatever you send me and kind of can play it. And and yeah, most of the time I'm not sure if I played it in one go. Probably not, because if a song is 10 minutes long, I would kind of
yeah.
go part by part. What I probably did was like I offered you what I think is right, and then we fine tuned a few things, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was perfect. I mean,
Thank you, thank you.
it was amazing, and I mean, hopefully we'll work again in the future,
Yeah, of
and
course. My pleasure.
we'll have like a lot of stuff coming up. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about your journey as a drummer, like how you. A lot of people maybe don't know about it, how you get started. I think you were born in Germany.
Yes.
Uh, how you grew up and you came to United States. Now you're settled and one of the best drummers in the world. Can you share like a little bit your journey? I mean, you have worked. I was reading Wikipedia. You are like worked with over 100 records, almost like 100 musicians and all. And this is amazing for a
A lot, probably. Yeah.
guy who started like somewhere else and now became one of the best. So.
Oh,
Uh,
was saying that. Well, I mean, I started very early because my parents are huge music lovers. My
mhm,
parents are just, they basically got me into music through playing me all these amazing records, because when I grew up, it was like absolutely, when I was 5, 6 years old, there was always music in the house. My father with a record collection basically of 10,000 albums. There would always be like something. I would kind of listen to Queen, to Jethro Tull, to Miles Davis, but also to Judas Priest, and to he has a huge variety in his record collection. So I could kind of
mhm,
pick and see what spoke
right.
to me. So fantastic, Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. Stuff you cannot get around really.
Yeah.
So I kind of developed at a pretty early age an enthusiasm and passion for music. And I saw even Queen. Then that was my first show ever. I think I was like 11 years old, and I saw them twice with Freddie Mercury.
Mhm. Oh, wow. That
How
must
cool,
be
right?
amazing.
Yeah, of course it was amazing. As a kid, that's like something you cannot forget. Like that's deeply imprinted. And I had a chance to tell that story to Brian May when we
Yeah.
when we met, and he was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And he remembered the concert hall in Hanover where I was from,
Mhm.
and where I'm from, and so he was like, "Oh, that's," and he asked about my parents and everything. That was actually very endearing to see that coming full circle. In a
Yeah.
way.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, for me, most of like I'm like I was born in 80s and like grew up in
Mm.
the 90s. So I grew up with most of the you can say contemporary music at that time,
Yeah.
and then I explored like Queen and Led Zeppelin later in my
Oh
life,
yeah, yeah,
King
yeah.
King Crimson. But yeah,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
so what was your first break? I would say like you think like as a drummer you got the big break and this was a good opportunity. You
Yeah. I think as a drummer, which is very, very interesting, I was obviously always interested in being a good drummer. I was very dedicated to my craft and also very interested in the technique of it.
Mhm,
That didn't mean that I always wanted to shred or something, because I really don't. I mean, I can, and sometimes I do, but that's not the essence of music. So I was always, because I also started playing keyboards like organ before I started really picking up drums, and also
mhm,
guitar and all these instruments I still play when I write songs.
mhm,
So I was really interested just in music and creating something beautiful. Like when I hear
mhm,
beautiful chords or like patterns that sound powerful. Um, that doesn't answer the question though. So that was my main interest. But the breakthrough, basically, as a drummer, I think, since I developed this independence technique, which came, I guess, from organ with like two manuals to play and
uh-huh,
two keyboards, basically. Excuse me, and then also like foot bass, with 2 feet. So when I kind of started playing drums, I was thinking about like, well, why is nobody playing two hi-hats with feet, for example? And so I was literally one of the first ones. I must have been literally like 15, 14, 15 years old when I went to Pro Percussion Center in Hanover and asked the guy, Frank, who was the main dude selling stuff. And I think I must have been maybe talented or something because they always kind of were like supporting me. They go like, oh my shit, oh my God, he's so good, blah, blah, blah. This and this is like, well, thank you kindly. But I have an idea. It was like, anything. I was like, yeah, sure. So I said, like, well, how about like, a hi-hat that I can play with my feet? And they came up literally building me stuff because they wanted to feature me. They thought like I was a talented kid. And so I thanked them very much, in hindsight, not in hindsight, and always thanked them already in the past, but now as well. So they were working with me literally on realizing my musical journey.
Mhm.
To go like, yeah, I was literally playing one of the first cable hi-hats ever. It it went so hard, with the cables, like, oh, you have to kind of put it down. And then, I also had the idea to mount a kick drum on the side of the drums, of the drum set, because when I would play two hi-hats, I didn't have any
Mhm.
feet left for the kick drum by the time to play groove. So my idea was to have a kick drum that I can play with the hand as well during these patterns. And so that established, I guess, a trend. And when I didn't kind of think much further about it because growing up in Hanover, in Germany by that time,
Mhm.
we would play metal. We would have like the glam metal bands and stuff like that. And I would be in some of those bands. But I was always interested also in bands like Yes, for example.
Mhm.
When they released their 80s albums, I was like maybe 15, 16 years old. But hearing like 91 to 5 or Big Generator
Mhm.
was cool. I was like, oh, hang on, there's something else going on. That's just
Yeah.
not bashing stuff. There's something going on. Same with Jethro Tull. And so, but the thing is, I got invited pretty early on to endorse drum companies and things
Mhm.
like that, and so then they invited me over to play festivals, and that's something I wasn't really fully prepared for at that time. My vision was just like, oh, I'm gonna do music, so it was like intimidating a little bit, kind
Yeah.
of doing that. But I remember, I think the biggest breakthrough must have been playing at Modern Drummer Festival.
Mhm.
And that was like in the 90s and late 90s, I think. And I remember something changed because I didn't even kind of concentrate. I wasn't really aware of like, oh my God, people will love what I do. I just wanted to have a good time and was like, very flattered that Modern Drummer invited me,
Yeah.
to play the Modern Drum Festival. And so I started playing, just concentrating on my patterns that I would do and this kind of stuff. And then people really, really liked it. I got standing ovations and stuff. And I remember like one guy from drums and percussion, he said, like, did you actually realize that even during your solo, you got three standing ovations? I was like, what? Really? I was
Wow.
like, they really like it that much because apparently they didn't hear that stuff with this hired work
Yeah.
or independence work. Obviously, I felt very, very grateful and flattered, but I literally felt something changed.
Mhm.
That was definitely a moment where I was like, oh shit, something's going to happen, something big. I don't know. I mean, what was it after all? Really, there were like times as a drummer where we had basically that push that guitar players got in the 80s in the late 90s, and then you would
Mhm.
release all these drum DVDs. And I had fun for a few years with that, but then also quickly decided, no, 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 look, I'm a band player, and I always had bands on the side.
Mhm.
So forming the Aristocrats then, was obviously the right way forward. That's what I always
Yeah.
wanted to do in doing my solo albums, which I always did, like even during
Yeah.
the whole drum madness festivals kind of and stuff. But yeah, but drumming wise, that must have been, to go back to your original question,
Yeah.
that must have been
The
a thing.
breakthrough. So
Yeah, yeah.
my first taste of like when I saw you first time is like when I think Paul Gilbert album you played
Mhm.
on with some space suit on it is
Yeah, yeah, that was Spaceship One. We did
yeah.
another one before, which was Burning Organ, and then we did Spaceship One. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's where I knew about it and know
yeah,
the name Marco Minnemann, I think early
yeah,
2000s. And then I was like kind of following here and there you and then
yeah.
uh, you played I think you did a audition for Dream Theater as well and kind of uh, you know make more fan following from that as well.
Possibly, yeah.
It's kind of a reality TV show. It's always
Yeah,
good
it
to be
wasn't.
on that, you know.
I know it wasn't even planned on kind of. I didn't take it, to be very honest, very serious. I just, I mean, of course I did. Of course I did.
Yeah,
That sounds wrong. No, no. But I just thought we would be having fun and jamming a little bit. I never thought about, oh, I'm going to join Dream Theater. It was like literally just Jordan Rudess, who I'd been working before
yeah,
already with. We were just taking a piss out of it and taking like, I was, I was like, oh, let's jam. Let's see what happens. And then it actually was really funny and very good, and people really
yeah,
liked it. I was like, oh shit, this is actually serious. But it was also like a thing because they requested, they wanted someone who's really dedicated, who wanted
yeah.
to play, who's a full-on fan. And
Full
I
on
remember
fan.
when they asked me if I had any of their albums, I said I don't really have any of your albums. And
Yeah,
then how
that
many
that
songs do you
must
know?
be,
It's a
you
famous story,
know.
meanwhile, but it's true.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean that I don't like it or anything. That's not true. That's not true. But I love these guys. They're great. We're still good friends. Anytime we meet, we always every time
yeah,
we have a great hang. But it left an impact somehow in the universe as well.
yeah,
Strangely enough, I wasn't even
yeah. I
planning
mean,
it. It was like a loose kind of thing, just walking in and having fun.
yeah, and I think your recordings with Steven Wilson, couple of
Yeah,
you did, I think 3, 4 records with him.
yeah, yeah. A
Yeah,
bunch of stuff and some
bunch of
Blu-rays and things we did.
yeah, and if it's one of the best albums I think I mean Raven and
Mhm.
other stuff you did is like
Yeah.
some of the best stuff
Oh, thank you.
drumming wise and like uh so I mean
Yeah.
always when I hear the fans, it's always people are comparing your work with other drummers now
Uh,
playing in the band,
yeah.
It's difficult to top that.
Thank you. Well, it was very interesting, especially the Raven album was almost like Stephen wanted me to almost play too much. And I was like, because I actually had a vision, I thought like, no, 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 let's not make it too crazy. But Stephen's idea of that album was like, go nuts! Oh my God, this is great! Just fireworks. He loved that by that time, I guess. And so that album has a lot of musical freedom, and it's almost like a jazz rock album if you kind of
Yeah,
consider
yeah.
it. But there was a lot of musical freedom, and looking back, yeah, there were some cool things in it. And I think the other one, which I almost like a little better, which was Hand Cannot Erase
A hand could not
later, yeah.
erase, yeah.
It was like almost like a little more defined. But
Yeah.
but the Raven had like this spark to it. There was like
Yeah.
this was a new band basically.
Yeah, it's
And
I think Alan Parson was also there.
yeah,
Maybe
Alan Parsons was.
his
Mhm.
presence also, makes
Oh
it
yeah, yeah,
special.
very much so. Ending up in his hotel room all the time and emptying a bunch of bottles of wines and having a good time. That was
So
that.
the songwriting process with Steven was more like a open, or he had like well-defined demos before you guys get into the studios? Like,
No, it was really it was basically Stephen and I doing the first things. He sent me demos,
hmm
and then I would send something back, and he would also ask me for arrangement ideas or anything or for things. So he gave me actually complete freedom.
hmm
So I never had any restriction. Can I actually still see you? Hang on. Here we go. You're still
yeah,
there because the screen kind of, yeah.
yeah,
And there was no restriction, so it was like really I could sound myself on those albums. And I think you hear it in the music. And I brought Guthrie actually in the band as well by the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And I think you can hear, especially on those albums, our imprint on how that music sounds there. After all, and of course, it's a Stephen Wilson record, and he wrote the songs. But I think from the musical freedom that we had,
hmm
it really sounded like us.
like a band full,
It did, it did,
but
it
yeah,
did, and it was on stage also that way, and I
yeah.
think it was good.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was yeah like I said, it was one of my top favorite albums of that era.
oh,
And
thank you.
now let's see what comes up. So you formed Aristocrat after Steven Wilson
No, already,
already was formed.
it was already formed. We just started pretty much at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
then you
then you had
started
to.
touring.
Yeah,
Touring.
you had to. Then that was also the reason why we didn't really continue with Steven at some point anymore because we couldn't get our time schedules aligned,
Yeah,
which was saddening because I thought like, man, it would be good to keep both a little bit, but on top of it, I was playing with Joe Satriani by the time,
yeah,
and I had all these three bands, and it was just like I couldn't, we would have to kind of, shift tours around. And
Yeah.
so I did like a few tours after here and there whenever I had time. But then at some point I had to make pretty much a decision. And
Decision. Yeah.
yes, we did decide for the Aristocrats because it's our band. So we are the writers and it's the band. So
Yeah.
even though I would have wished to continue both, to be very honest, because
Yeah.
it was a good experience, but we left something powerful in the universe, I think, and
Yeah. I mean,
and that's the most important, you
most
know.
important part. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
so what's like you are like a multi-instrumentalist. You write guitar, you have all this. So what's your songwriting process is like
Mhm.
typically you start with a drum beat, or maybe these days you're writing on a guitar, or what's
I mostly write on the guitar or a piano, a keyboard, or even with vocal lines or bass lines.
Mhm.
And sometimes I have a drum groove that is inspiring, and then I record it. So it can go either way. But a lot of times I just love sitting there, with some, guitar things, and if something beautiful falls from the sky, I just record it with my, voice memo, and maybe sing already kind of a vocal line over it, and then write some lyrics, and then I start recording it on my computer and
Yeah.
go do like the sketch from the guitar, play drums, and then play the guitar over the drums and the bass, and add some keyboards and other ingredients. But meanwhile, I even have a lot of times, one of the last songs or the last few bits. Actually, no, a lot of times I also record the guitar already pretty solidly and play the drums to the guitar
Okay.
already, and then add the bass and stuff. Because if it's a one-man band, then I have the same timing understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. So like you don't do the demo stuff, like you just start writing and
there are no demos. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, final parts,
Yes.
everything final.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the luxury, I think, of having your own studio and making templates.
Yeah.
For example, if I find a good sound that I like, then I already kind of save a template which I can go back to and go like,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty good. And then I kind of, pull the template up and maybe go like, I might tweak a little different thing, or another instrument comes in, different snare drum. And
Mhm.
as soon as I like it, I make the next template. And then I have like sort of a thing where I can pretty quick recall already settings.
Yeah.
So there is really no need for demoing. It's like that's it. So what you hear, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's
what
like
I am
more
doing,
really honest, you can say, feel of the song, what's your thinking right away, it's recorded. It's
most
that's
people seem to like it. Like the responses are mostly actually very, very good. Pretty much, yeah, 99.9%. I never, hardly ever. My followers are actually pretty loyal and very nice. I mean, on and off, you get someone who has something stupid to
yeah.
say, or something he's not happy with, or she's not happy with, or whatnot. But like, but that happens. That there's always someone, who has a
Mhm.
bad day or something. But as long as most of my fans really like what I do, that gives me the confirmation that I can continue that way.
Mhm.
But I'm always open for suggestions. I take everything serious. Like, so
Mhm.
everything I could see, like, what can I do next? For example, I'm working with the amazing Mariko Muranaka. She's a cellist from Hans Zimmer from the
Mhm.
orchestra, and she's on many of my songs. And I'm just working with her on the new song, just literally right as we speak. Because yesterday,
Mhm.
actually, the past 3 days, I was hanging with the whole Hans Zimmer entourage, and we just had a lot of fun. My guitar players in the band as well.
Yeah.
And so there are many, many good ties, that came together from that operation. So I'm very open-minded, to see like, oh my gosh. So when I kind of program my strings and I give this to Mariko, she sends me something back, that is obviously much, much cooler, and
Much,
big.
yeah.
It's real, it's like a real
Real.
challenge.
So,
So
so writing for Aristocrats, do you write the lead guitar parts and other stuff as well, like bass parts, everything? Like one of the things I like about Aristocrats is like you guys shared like 3 song each. Every record
yeah,
has like 9 songs,
that's
and
right.
nobody involved in the other guys,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
production. So
yeah,
do you
exactly.
write like end to end, like lead parts as well for so Guthrie to play on, or like
Well, yeah, some. Only if the melody is he kind of chooses himself what he likes or not. Because when I do my demos, there is like a very I posted something, the demo for a song called "And Then There Were Just Us," and you hear my original take on it. So when you look that up, the song is called "And Then There Were Just Us." I recently released that demo and kind of, um, worked a little bit into it and kind of did the version as I would have heard it if it was my solo version.
Hmm.
But that's all me. And when you listen to the version on the album, I mean, I cut some parts out, then extended some other parts, so I made it my solo song as well.
Hmm.
But that is literally pretty much a demo what you hear. But you can hear everything is already there. As far as the solos go, sometimes I just play some sloppy solo because I know Guthrie will obviously play like an amazing solo. So I just give the arrangements and some things, who that are already written out. Obviously, they will be played, as suggested.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much yes, as suggested. And if there's a solo, and it's very surprising, I kind of, just here we go, boom, 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 just do your thing, obviously. And sometimes Guthrie likes one or two of the guitar lines that I did in the solo and thinks, hang on, this sounds composed. I'll use that as well. It's like, so we have ultimate freedom, obviously. So when Guthrie writes his demos, for example, the drum parts are completely open. He goes like, that's just like me, like, just a programming, do whatever you feel, do whatever you like. And I think
Hmm.
that's how we operate a little bit because obviously telling each other, I think the musicianship is fairly high in the band, and
Yeah.
we're like only a trio. So everybody has a strong impact and voice.
Hmm.
And the voices can be heard. It's not like an orchestra where you have 30 people or whatnot, where some instruments can also be drowned out or have like a section playing. No, we
Hmm.
are all individual players pretty much. So every note counts, and so that's a strong stylistic formation I think we have. And so I really kind of think, okay, I try to write as loose as possible to give the others
Hmm.
freedom, to be themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So like another question I want to ask, like how you stay fresh, or do you have any writer's block sometimes, like you don't
Oh,
feel because you what I see, you are always writing, you are always in
yeah,
the
I'm
music
always
stuff.
writing.
So
It
do you
just
have
falls from
any
the sky. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
so you don't feel any time like, hey, why I'm doing this? Or
Well, yeah, why am I doing this? Those feelings sometimes come with it. Sometimes you go like, yeah. I mean, I never have really, thankfully so far at least, a writer's block where I think like, oh, I'm not inspired. I love writing,
Mhm.
But what I do sometimes think is, so here's an example. So you write on a song and you really spend a good amount of time in it to make it the most beautiful as you can, and then you put like this song that is maybe 4 or 5 minutes long on social media.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, nobody listens anymore for 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So the things that the hardcore fans I'm getting, they love it and they comment. That might be sometimes around like 1,000 people, let's say. Now, the other day, I just posted a little excerpt from a drum solo from that Chicago show that you were saying just a few weeks ago. Just a little excerpt, and there was like one bit that is a modulation of a 5/16th, and people sometimes ask me about it, what it is, and I had the idea. Oh, I can't explain it while I play. I tell you what, I'll take a Sesame Street character, the Count, and
Yeah, I
have him
saw
on the
that
screen
video. Yeah.
counting like in counterparts, like first alone and then the counterparts. That shit got like immediately like 4,000 views, or 4,000 likes or more.
Yeah.
And I go like, okay, I just sat there basically doing this in a few minutes. And then you write on a song and you put the song out. And don't get me wrong, people like it, but the attention span to listen to an entire song for 4 or 5 minutes, meanwhile, on social media, it's almost gone. They click probably a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people
Yeah,
click
it's
in
even maybe
for half a minute.
20 second is enough, I
Yeah.
think.
So, yeah,
In the
obviously when I
world
put
of
that out,
TikTok, like you're just scrolling up and down,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and that's
So,
a little saddening. I
yeah.
really found it sad. But, fortunately, our followers from the Aristocrats or our individual followers as well are still music geeks enough that they listen, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's like so what you advice you can give to your young inspiring musicians, or maybe people who are like coming up, write shorter songs or what?
Yeah, well,
Or be yourself.
be yourself, obviously. But the thing is, imagine if you put out. I mean, just imagine you put out a song like "Wish You Were Here" or "Shine on You Crazy
Crazy
Diamond."
Diamond.
and you would put like, I mean, that song takes like 3 to 4 minutes to even develop when the keyboards come in, right? Which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
These days you couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody would go like, can't hear anything, next. You know?
Yeah, that's very strange, you know. You need like you said, you put a cartoon in a video and everybody like
And
watch
then
it.
immediately it kind of goes like, okay, here we go, haha, we find that funny.
Yeah.
And I find it funny too, otherwise I wouldn't have done it, you know. So I thought like, hey, that's cool, and I get it, you know. But yeah, sometimes I kind of really think like, you know, I mean, look, people love Pink Floyd, I love Pink Floyd, you know, but if they know it, then they kind of obviously listen to it and stuff. But a new band, if you post something on TikTok, you know, you have to immediately, boom, here's the information, right? And then
Yeah.
later on you can listen to the whole song when you buy it or something. So my recommendation would be, but who am I now? Look, there's like a whole other generation who know already how to deal much better with that than I do, probably. But I think, you know, make an impact as quick as possible. So
Hmm.
for young, inspiring musicians, make an immediate impact. See, with like I said, with our bands or with myself, we already created a following.
Yeah.
So I can do whatever I want, and I can post it, and my loyal followers will kind of, you know, always, you know,
Well,
or also some neo ones will come in. But for like, you know, young, you know, thriving musicians and stuff like that, make an impact as soon as possible. You know,
yeah,
you
that's
can then still write long and beautiful songs that can be bought, you know, on the album or
mhm.
on Bandcamp. But if you post something, yeah, you know, put the best part out. That's also a beautiful thing in the times we live in.
Yeah.
You can kind of literally bring your core message across, you know,
Yeah.
in seconds if you like, and
If
people
you
will
like
forgive you
it.
about it, you know, and will like it actually.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
we
that's
are,
not, yeah,
yeah.
but that's not really the main advice. Obviously, would be as good as you can, you know, don't half-ass things, and just work on your craft as good as you can. And once you are happy and you're proud of what you did, then other people will kind of, you know, also see that happiness in you, and you know, and that's how you create a following, you know.
Yeah, talking about happiness, I think you are one of the musicians who are always, I see happy, smiling
Yeah.
and joking around and all.
Yeah.
And I see like your song titles are also always funny, humor
Yeah.
in it. So,
Yeah, sometimes even though I write a lot of some of the music that you hear in my albums, have a lot of also dark lyrics, you know, a lot of dark kind of stuff, you know.
yeah,
But still, the overall thing, that's not a negative. Dark doesn't mean negative. It can be beautiful, you know.
beautiful as
So
well.
there can be still depth in the songs, but you still can have fun with it. You still like it, you know.
Yeah.
You're not miserable about it, you know. You enjoy it, you know.
So yeah, we are running out of time, but
Okay.
what's my last question would be like, what looking back at your career overall for till now, I hope what you're most proud of till now, and what you're thinking like you should like achieve in the future, like.
Oh, that's obviously not an easy question, you know, because I'm obviously very proud of the Aristocrats, you know, that we established a thing.
Hmm.
Because when the Aristocrats happened, it was the time, you know, where a lot of bands here in California play at the Baked Potato, and different constellations. You play with different musicians, but all of a sudden that we found that trio that gelled so well, that was truly special. You don't have that often. You can
Hmm.
maybe see that in certain bands like the Police or something, you know.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, these three guys meet, and wow, you know, and there is an impact. And
Hmm.
I'm very, very grateful that that happened. You know, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I have to kind of, you know, like all the songs the same or something like that. You know, like there are some songs where I think like, I wish I could go back and or we improve it, and then we have the chance to do it in a live setting, and then we
Hmm.
release it in a live record, and you hear that songs grow, and
Grow.
you go like, man, that song is so much better now on this live album than it was before. You know, when you look back to the first album, which was done in 9 days or something like
Yeah.
that, right? You know, literally recording and mixing. And then when you listen to how the versions established, you look back and go like, you know what? I'm actually proud of that we did that and developed it and stuff.
Yeah.
So that is probably the achievement that I'm very happy about. And to look into the future, there's always something, isn't it? I don't like to be repetitive a lot. I
Hmm.
always like to make albums that sound a little different, you know.
Hmm.
Just like, you know, for example, incorporating this beautiful cellist Mariko, she plays fantastic, gives me uh, the enthusiasm to kind of take things further and write for her, right? Like, oh my God, now I can finally write for cello, and then she
Yeah.
delivers all this beautiful stuff, and I go like, oh, isn't that cool? So that's something to look forward to always.
Yeah, so it thanks again. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time and supporting this channel and supporting independent music as well.
Yeah,
And I'm looking forward for the next leg of Aristocrats, and
thank
hopefully
you.
we'll see you there as
We
well.
try our best.
And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.